Today you are watching an autonomous undocking of a cargo Dragon vehicle. Upon Dragon's departure today, scheduled for 9:40 a.m. Central Time, it will depart with just over 5,300 pounds of critical science and other hardware, scheduled for a safe splashdown tomorrow in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida, around 10:30 p.m. Central Time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Station Houston and 2 for Dragon status.
Dragon's journey to the International Space Station.
All right, in preparation for undock, at this time, please perform step 1 of 1.602 Dragon departure monitoring. The undock sequence start time is 1440 GMT.
1440, and I'll review step 1.
Okay, and one additional item is we're just delaying 10 minutes to make sure that we have good comm with the vehicle.
For that, thanks.
And that was Capcom Leslie Ringo relaying the message to Shane Kimbrough, who will be monitoring Dragon's departure today, that they pushed undocking about 10 minutes. It's now scheduled for 9:40 a.m. for undocking command to be sent. It'll take about 3 minutes for Dragon's hooks to be unhooked, and then the release will be about 2 minutes later. Dragon's journey to the International Space Station began on June 3rd when the spacecraft launched on a Falcon 9 rocket from the Space Launch Complex 39A at Cape Canaveral, Florida. There are currently 7 crew members living and working aboard the International Space Station. Expedition 65 consists of NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough, Megan McArthur, and Mark Vande Hei, Roscosmos cosmonauts Petrov Dubrov, Oleg Novitsky, Aki Hoshido of JAXA, and Thomas Pesquet of the European Space Agency. As a part of the commercial crew program, NASA astronauts Megan McArthur and Shane Kimbrough launched alongside European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Aki Hoshido on April 23rd from the Kennedy Space Flight Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. This mission, known as NASA's Spacex Crew 2, docked to the International Space Station on April 24th and is set for a 6-month science mission. The Crew 2 mission is the second of 6 crewed missions NASA and SpaceX will fly as a part of the agency's commercial crew program. Dragon's journey to the International Space Station began on June 3rd when the spacecraft launched on a Falcon 9 rocket from the Space Launch Complex 39A at Cape Canaveral, Florida. The spacecraft lifted off over the Florida coast with more than 7,300 pounds of science investigations and supplies to begin its 2-day journey to the International Space Station. Dragon arrived 2 days later on June 5th with Expedition 65 flight engineers Shane Kimbrough and Megan McArthur monitoring the arrival from the station's cupola. We're about 2 minutes out from that next burn. This burn will take Dragon out of the keep out sphere, that first invisible line with a 200-meter radius, to get the cargo Dragon away from the International Space Station.
Station Tsukuba on Space Ground 2 for Aki at your convenience. Copy.
And we're about 30 seconds out from the next burn.
Station Houston on 2, departure burn 1 complete.
After that, looks like it's right down the chute in the corridor.
Copy.
Leslie Ringo confirmed with Shane Kimbrough that the last burn was completed and it was nominal.
Station Houston on 2, Dragon has exited the keep out sphere.
That's great news, Leslie. Hey, I want to say thanks to all the SpaceX team, the NASA team, and all the scientists, engineers, and researchers who had equipment and on this vehicle. It was a great vehicle, kept us busy for this past month, doing a bunch of great science. Hopefully the returns that you get back on this vehicle here in a few days will prove to be good insight for all the researchers there. And obviously it brought out the solar arrays as well that we got to install on our EVAs, so it kept us nice and busy. So thanks to everybody again, and it looks like a beautiful vehicle departing.
And that was Capcom Leslie Ringo confirming that Dragon is outside of the keep out sphere, and a bid farewell to Dragon by NASA astronaut Shane Kimbrough. And that same burn that helped Dragon exit the keep out sphere will also help Dragon exit the neighborhood or the vicinity of the International Space Station. And we're looking for Dragon to exit the approach ellipsoid in a little under 10 minutes. If you are just joining us, we are live here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room with a live view of the SpaceX Dragon cargo craft as it has undocked the International Space Station and now is retreating. It has currently exited the keep out sphere, and we're looking for one more milestone this morning, and that's going to be the exiting the approach ellipsoid. Cargo Dragon arrived on June 5th, 2021 with over 7,300 pounds of cargo. Cargo Dragon will return tomorrow, splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida, with about 5,300 pounds of research and return cargo. Dragon had an on-time departure of 9:45 a.m. Central Time as the International Space Station and Dragon flew 262 statute miles above the South Atlantic Ocean. Now just about 4 minutes away from Dragon departing the approach ellipsoid, which is the mythical cone around the station, referred to as the neighborhood of the space station, at which point integrated operations between Flight Control Team here in Houston and SpaceX Flight Control Team in Hawthorne, California, will be complete. At that point, NASA's tasks as part of the joint mission operations will be complete as flight controllers in the SpaceX Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California, take over operations of the Dragon cargo craft. Just to recap some of the milestones from our coverage so far today, the command for undock was sent at 9:40 a.m. Dragon had 2 sets of 6 hooks released and had a successful undocking at 9:45 a.m. Central Time, 10:45 a.m. Eastern. It then conducted a series of departure burns to move away from the space station. Flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston and SpaceX Mission Control worked with Expedition 65 flight engineer Shane Kimbrough monitoring in the cupola. Dragon has now exited the keep out sphere, and we're just a few minutes away from Dragon exiting the approach ellipsoid, or the vicinity of the International Space Station. It will then keep moving away from the station, and it will have an eventual deorbit burn tomorrow around 9:45 p.m. Central Time for a parachute-assisted splashdown at 10:30 p.m. Central Time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time.